There's a lot more to the study of dirt than just looking at soil. It's a job for soil scientists. But you could be surprised just who a soil scientist might be. You don't have to wait until you're in college to learn how to become a soil scientist. These Kuna High School students are about to show off their soil scientist skills. They're competing in the Idaho State Land and Soil Evaluation Career Development Event Contest.
Kids here today are involved in a contest of judging soil and land to help determine its best use and to help determine whether the land is suitable for agriculture or how suitable, what kind of crops or tillage should be here. We also have 2 sites that they judge for a home site to determine the suitability for building a home with the appropriate structures that go with that.
In the competition, the teams of 5 people investigate each of 6 pits dug into the ground. They examine the soil by looking at the soil horizon, the layers of topsoil and subsoil.
I go through and I'm checking for the erosion loss. So I take my soil picking tool and you pick through the dirt till it gets where it's a change in how you feel it or what it's going on.
They also classify the soil by doing something called texturing.
We grab the soil and we're trying to find what the different sizes are. And so there's sand, which is the largest, then silt, and then, which is the middle one, and then clay. Usually you want a silt because it's not too big and it's not too small. And so what we do is we get it wet because you can't really tell, because sometimes the clay will build up with each other and they stick together a lot. So you have to break it down using the water. And then for sands it would be really gritty, and then for silts it's really, really smooth, and then clay will stick together a lot, so it'll be hard to move around, and it will stick together really well, and that's how we can tell the difference.
The students also determine the slope of the land, the angle at which the land falls or climbs. Knowing the slope helps determine water runoff and whether the soils are vulnerable to erosion. That's important to know, especially if you're picking a place to build a house.
And then the other things that we do is they give us numbers on the placard, which is a board with a bunch of information on it. And there are nutrients that are found in fertilizers, and they tell you how much is in the soil. And so then knowing whether or not the soil on a pH scale is below 7 or above 7, you can determine what types of nutrients you need. And so they tell us how many nutrients there are, and we determine whether or not they need to add more or not.
Most of these kids come from an agricultural background, so they're interested in learning this to help them maybe go back and run their own operation at some time. The kids that don't do that, they're learning about how to judge a site for suitability for a home.
The students mark all the required information down for each pit on their own sheets. It takes real skill to be able to answer all the questions, and students from all over the state compete. Each team member sheets are scored, combined, and the top 2 scoring teams will go on to represent Idaho in the national competition.
Yeah, I think it's a good learning experience, and you get to go out and you get to meet new people and you get to experience things you wouldn't normally experience.
I'm doing this because we have a class for it, but also to gain more knowledge about agriculture and other things, so that way I can potentially do things on my own instead of having to hire someone to do it, and also possibly pursuing a profession in agriculture.
The team from Kuna didn't win today's competition, but they did learn something important.
It's not just dirt, there's more to it.
If you want to learn more, head to the Science Trek website. You'll find facts, links, games, material for educators and parents, and much more. You'll find it all at sciencetrek.org.